Hey guys, how is everyone doing? I hope you're having an awesome day and that God is blessing you and you are walking in the freedom and the beauty that Christ gives us in his promises. I wanted to come on really quick and make this video to encourage someone, to remind myself, oh gosh, my hair is crazy, of the power and the glory and the grace of God. And I'm so in awe, to be honest with you. I'm literally like, you guys, this past week, God has just been doing like full-on heart surgery on me. Like, he has been opening up my eyes to areas that I need to change, areas that I've been blind to. He's been opening my eyes to paths that I've been walking in, negative thought loops that I've been in that have been hindering me, and he's literally been showing me step by step, like, this is how you walk in freedom. And I want to share a few of the things that he's been sharing with me, because literally all week it's like bam, 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 like every single day he's like, you do this, you have been like projecting this out, you have been walking in these ways, you have been living your life in accordance with fear and coming into agreement with fear. And like, the thing that's crazy is, like, every single thing the Lord has been showing me, it's been like a theme, like resting and pushing it against, almost like pushing through my subconscious mind. Like, it's like my subconscious mind wanted me to know these things so much, but they just couldn't get through. And finally, this past week, so many walls came down where I can see how I just haven't been trusting God. And I really hope this message finds someone, because there's always been little areas where, you know, I trust God, obviously, with some big things in my life, but there's some areas of my life where I just was like, I'm not ready to surrender that. And I was open with God about that. I was like, I don't know how to surrender that to you. I'm terrified of what could happen if I go down a certain path, if I allow myself to fully release those areas to God and just say yes to him in those things, because I'm scared, you know. And he really, really, really revealed, like, we've been having some crazy conversations that I just pray you can have these kind of conversations with God, because I was sitting there and I was like, whoa, Lord, like, I need a minute. Like, I literally kept telling him, like, you were blowing my mind. And like, in a good way though, because, you know, in peeling back the layers of all these things that I've really been struggling with, I think we all do this. And it's like, the thing you have to realize that God showed me, and one of the most important things that he showed me, is that when we're laying in bed or having coffee in the morning or talking to our spouse or anything, you know, and maybe we're asking for something with our mouth, but in our mind we're envisioning something different. You really have to ask yourself, what am I allowing? You might not even be trying to do this too, because I'm a very visual person, and I always have, what God showed me is fantasies. I have fantasies that are constantly playing out in my mind, and the Lord showed me most of those fantasies are negative. And it's not that I'm playing them out because I'm like trying to indulge in them. I'm playing them out from a perspective of survival. I'm playing them out and rehearsing even what I would say in that situation. And what I came to realize, and that God slapped me in the face with, is that I had rehearsed situations, real situations that ended up happening to me in my life that were really negative. I had rehearsed those in my mind. And I don't know how this like goes under the radar, but it's just like, firstly, I would see a situation, you know, again and again and again. The enemy would be bringing up a situation that wasn't real. And it was something that worried me, though. And eventually, when the situation would come into my mind, I would formulate a response. You know? Well, I'd be like, well, I'm not going to worry about that, because if it happens, like, this is what I'll do. And then, so I've formulated not only this fantastical, like, possibility in my mind of, like, what could go wrong, but now I'm gearing up my body and feeling in my body, like, how would this feel? How would I respond? What would I say? And then literally the situation happened, and I ended up saying exactly what I said in the rehearsal that I did in my mind. And the thing is, you're coming into agreement with these negative fantasies. And I don't know how the human brain works fully, but I know that belief creates our reality. Our beliefs shape our reality. They do. And the thing is, like, our parents, our ancestors, everyone, our DNA holds beliefs that we're telling ourselves every single day. And what I realized is we have to really believe God's word. And this is something that I have been praying a lot. Like, within the last month, I would say my prayers have just changed completely. Like, the way that I pray is totally different. And I'm so grateful for that, because something shifted in that atmosphere of a different kind of prayer. And instead of begging God for things or asking him even, he's showing me, he's like, I want you to speak those things over your life. Because the thing is, he's like, I know what you want already. And like, you don't have to ask me for the things that you want. Just walk in the freedom. Walk in the freedom. Walk in the boldness. Declare your life blessed. Declare that you have everything that you need, and thank God for it, and praise him for it, and put everything subject under the blood of Christ, and say, you know what, I don't know how I'm going to pay that bill tomorrow, but I thank God for providing a way, because I'm the apple of his eye and he provides for me. Speak Bible over your life too. And the thing is, when we look back on our lives, we can see the blessings that he did, and use that also as like prayer ammo. You know, when I pray to God, I'm like, remember that time, like when you got me? And he'll bring up things in my life too. And someone said something so profound. I was watching a video this morning, and they were like, don't await for the net to appear before you jump. Like, this world, this spiritual matrix, whatever we're in, responds to action with faith and trust. And like, if we have all our ducks in a row first, but then we're feeling fear and we step out, I mean, you know, can it still happen for you? Yes, but be bold. We're literally called to operate outside of fear. We get to live a life outside of fear, you guys. And I started asking myself this past week, really in my prayer to God, asking him and asking myself and being like, was this move that I did, was this decision that I made, you know, or am going to make or whatever, is this based in fear or is this based in love? And like, that might sound lame to some people, you know? But it's so true. Am I walking out this life and my purpose from a place of love, or is it out of fear? Because when I really thought about it, I was like, so many decisions that I made, so many things that I shut down in my life, so many things that I closed the door on, that I turned away from, were straight up only because I was afraid. I was afraid to hold the things that God was trying to put in my hands. And I got before the Lord and I told him, I was like, because he helped me to realize that my hands can never hold the promises that he has for me. They can never hold the gifts or the blessings. They can't. It will slip through my hands. It will slip through my hands. If I try to do it on my own strength, everything will slip through. But what he showed me was, he was like, you don't have to hold anything in your own hands. He's like, my hands are holding you. My hands have your hands. It's like I'm a little child and here's my little hands, and then God's hands are just huge, holding those. And he's like, no blessing that I have for you is going to slip through the cracks, because it will just fall right into my hands. And you can just relax. And I wish I can like verbalize the profundity of everything that he's been showing me this week, of how we are literally commanded to not fear. And you guys, so much of my life has just been based completely in fear. And things that like I said, things I close the door to, things that I'm like, this situation's impossible, that God can never change it. And even though I have my prayers, there has been certain things that I've been withholding from him, because I'm like, it's just not possible for me, because yada yada yada, and because I'm too afraid of like, you know, the devil attacking me in this area. Like, there's certain blessings, when you are going to get them, may terrify you. It may terrify you, because you're like, I don't know if I can handle that level of responsibility, or I don't know if I'm going to be able to stand. No. Like, that's all Satan telling you. Like, do you understand the business that you're trying to start? The venture that you're trying to walk in? Like, God wants that for you. He wants that for you. He wants you to walk in a freedom, to know that you can just give it all to him. And it's okay if you feel afraid now, but if you trust God and declare over your life, I am not afraid. I am not afraid. I am going to trust God and give this fear to him. And it's only when I really started asking God to take my fear away, repenting and asking for forgiveness for being afraid in so many areas, that he really started peeling away the layers and showing me this and telling me that I can trust him, that I can speak his promises over my life and walk in those and really live from a place of those and just have joy. And I think that's so special, because, you know, God asked me the other day, he was like, what would you pursue if you didn't have to be afraid of anything? Like, if we can separate you from your fear, what would you go after? What would you want to do? What would you dream of that you can step into? Because he's like, you no longer have to be in this survival space. And that's where I've been. So many of us who've been hurt, who've been abused, who've been neglected, whatever, like, who've had tough lives, we are literally operating, we can't even see the full world around us. We can't see the world's potential. We can't see our own potential, because all of our filters and our perspectives are tainted by this survivalism that we just simply don't need. Because the thing is, when you're operating in a space of survival, you're just scanning everything, hyper vigilant and overly aware and looking for a negative. You're looking for things to pick apart. You're looking for danger. You're looking for people who are going to hurt you, for qualities in people that are going to be dangerous, that you don't like. And the thing is about humans, this is how God has made us. Like, it's crazy. It's not a law of attraction thing. It's a real thing, because I've tested, I keep testing it, and I'm finding it to be very true. And I think if you look around in your own life, you'll find it to be true. What you look for, you are going to find. And I think if you really, really think about your life, you will see that this has always been true. The thing that you were looking for is going to be found. It even says that in the Bible. Knock and it will be open to you. Seek and you will find. It doesn't say that that's always going to be a good thing. If you are looking for that thing, you're going to find it. You will find it. That's just how the human mind works. If you look at the reticular activation system, I think it's called, it just means that what patterns you look for, you find. That's a scientific fact, and it's a biblical fact. And like, the thing about Satan is, like, he always sprinkles in truth with lies with the truth. And I was really into the law of attraction before, and I found that it was completely real and it worked. But that's not because it has anything to do with you. God has given us a gift to be able to focus on and see the things that we see in this life. The things that we focus on happen. And that's why prayer also works. But see, the devil wants to hijack that and be like, oh, you're making all this stuff happen, and you're special, and you have powers. And we do have power. We have power to change our lives. We have power to, like, influence things. We absolutely do. And we have power to create things in this world. Like, that's pretty obvious. But the thing is, like, we need to subject this under God. If I just straight up, I'm like, I want all this stuff to happen, and I'm going to focus on it and manifest it or whatever. Yes, I can make it happen, but it's not going to be from God. See, we have to put all these things under subjection to God. Otherwise, it's going to ruin us. And again, we're not going to know how to handle it. And we're not going to be able to have the heart stance to hold it in our hands. Because we're trying to hold it in our own hands. And like I said, we can't. We can't do that on our own. We need God to support and put the things in place. And sometimes the thing that we want the most, if we're not ready for it, sometimes we have to go through a pruning season to be able to meet what we want and where we want to be at. Maybe we're down here and what we're wanting is up here. God's going to take us through a pruning season. We have to be under subjection to him. We have to be in submission to his will. And ask him, like, Lord, make me ready for the things. Like, transform me. Circumcise my heart. So then I can actually walk as the person who will bring these things into accordance with your will. Because I do think there's a frequency. I think Satan knows that there's a frequency. And whatever that frequency or frequencies are, some of them line up to what God wants for us and some of them don't. And what I found is, like, when I'm walking in this frequency of irritation, of anger, of lack, of depression, of sadness, of misunderstanding, of all these different things, that's what shows up in my life. Like, when I walk in a place of constant suspicion, and it's like I had good reason to walk in those vibrations, right? Because that's what I saw my whole life. Was like, when you're around people, you need to be suspicious of them. You need to be side-eyeing them. You need to be aware and, like, all these different things. And I'm looking constantly. I'm looking in my brain. And I don't want to be like this. My brain's trying to calculate, okay, like, how is this person trying to screw me over? Even when I wasn't, like, aware that I was having those thoughts, my subconscious mind is constantly programmed that way. And God showed me too about, like, tree roots, and actually even dreadlocks. or vines, right? Because he was like, your neural pathways in your brain, he's like, what, and this is a fact too, whatever you keep traveling on and layering on is going to get stronger, and it's going to get thicker, it's going to build thicker into a bundle. And it's just like my dreadlocks. If I don't separate them at the roots, they just end up growing together. You know, I have to be mindful about keeping each one separate, and you know, I just call it separating my dreadlocks or whatever. And our thoughts are the same way. Each time you have a thought, you can make a choice. Like, is this a thought that I want to go down? Like, do I want to go down this road? Is this a thought of fear? Or is this a thought of love? And like, when you keep going down the same fear path, which is what you've always done, it just gets thicker and hardier and stronger, you know, and more difficult to break. And now every single time you come across a certain situation or a trigger or a tripwire, you're going to have the same reaction, because that pathway's already, that pathway's there. That's the response that you're going to have every time. And so you have to take a new pathway, which God was showing me. He's like, this is the narrow path, because those neural pathways that are so old and so time worn and so strengthened, that's the wide path that everyone has taken in your family before you. See? God is so awesome. And he's like, I want you to make a new path away from this fear, away from this crap. And the thing is, like, he even showed me, he was like, situations and people are going to show up in your life based on this new you, right? He's like, I can shift the atmosphere to the new thing. And like, I don't know, it was just revelations after revelations, and it has nothing to do with controlling God. God's like, I want you to have a plan for your life. I want you to have a focus. I want you to have a goal. I want you to choose the thing that you want. And then I want you to trust in me that I will give it to you. Not in the exact way maybe that you want, but bottom line, that if you jump, the net will appear. And I mean, what a freedom. What a freedom. Like, if we can actually walk in this space with God and say, I'm not afraid of what might happen, because I trust a living God. I trust that God sees me. I trust that God would never let my fear happen to me. He would never let that thing that I'm afraid of happen to me. Why am I even going to think about that thing? Why am I going to think about it? He's got me. And it's not about trusting other people. It's not about trusting in yourself. It's not about trusting in some concrete plan that you made. Because plans can change, whatever. The bottom line is trusting in God and saying, you know what? Even if it doesn't work out how I expect, I know that God is good and he's going to take care of me. And I'm so grateful God has taken me on this journey. Like, he's taken me through all these different countries and never turned his back on me. You know, every time the more I trust him, the more he does for me. And that's just a testament to him. It's not a testament to my stuff at all. And he's just been blowing my mind. And I'm moving hotels today, but I want to talk more about this and try to like get a proper outline, because like I said, he has been nonstop every single day giving me like downloads of information, and I'm like, Lord, it's like, I mean, he's literally peeling back the layers, showing me things that I never realized about myself, and things and ways that I even acted in the past that made things so much worse, or attracted that certain thing to me, or, you know, ways that I was seeing things in other people that were present in myself. that I really needed to know. I really needed to know these things, and I'm gonna work now to integrate that information into my life. But I wanted to come on here and just encourage someone and let you know, freedom starts with not walking in fear and really asking yourself on every decision you make, am I making this decision out of fear, or am I making this decision out of love? Because I think what you'll find is that a lot of your decisions, maybe a lot more of them than you thought, were based in fear. And let's start changing that today. Let's walk in freedom and love, in faithfulness, and in the power and the joy of Christ. Because Jesus wants that for us. He wants us to live a free life. And everything that the enemy does is trying to get us to exist in fear. Because when we're afraid, we're shut down. And we can't open up to faith. We can't open up to the promises of God. So just be encouraged today. And know that also that thing that you have been wanting, that you've been thinking is not possible because of XYZ, open your heart and ask God, really, why is this desire in my heart? First of all, if it can't be fulfilled, why is it there? And second of all, ask him to cleanse the fear out of you and remind you of all the ways that he's been faithful. And write down answered prayers too. Write down things that God has done for you, because when you have that awareness, you'll remember and be like, God really came through for me. You'll see that he has always come through for you. God is so good. We never have anything to be afraid of. He really wants to hold us and hold everything, hold all the things that we want for us. We don't have to hold on to anything in fear. We don't have to clutch on to anything, because he's going to make everything work out the way that it's supposed to work out. And if you really are able to believe that, the belief is so powerful. The belief is so powerful. We have to believe, because you're believing one way or the other. And your belief is making things happen in the spirit and in the physical. So you can either believe in God or believe your fear and still live from this place of lack and emptiness and loneliness and heartache and pain. And there's a reason why our minds are attacked so much. Why is everything in the mental? Why is everything, I ask God that. I'm like, why is everything in the mental? Why is everything so important and hinging on belief? And he told me, because beliefs make things happen. Belief is the key. Because also, if I know all these different things about God, and I know all these different things about his promises for me, but I don't believe any of them, I don't actually walk in any of them, then it's completely useless. And this is why also God was showing me faith without works is dead too. Because again, it goes both ways. If I just believe it and I don't ever act on it, then that means nothing. This physical realm responds to us acting and actually putting our faith out there. It's like, if I think I'm going to get if I want to get a new job and I just go for the interview, maybe that's one thing. But if I buy a full new dress, if I invest in something, and maybe a new notebook, a new planner for this job, take action that shows God and shows, yes, the universe, that you are preparing for this thing, that you're walking at it just as much as it's walking at you. Show up to meet your destiny, dress for the part, speak for the part, show up for the part, get the things that you need ready for the part. You want to have a baby and you've been dealing with infertility, Like, buy a baby onesie. Buy some baby supplies and have that in your home. Like, show God that you're like, I'm moving things into here that pertain to this dream that I have. And I'm stepping out in faith, even though I don't see it in the natural, because faith is to be able to visualize. And I think visualization is really important. Like I said, I did a lot of negative ruminations. Yeah, I would do a lot of negative ruminations, and I wasn't thinking about this, but God told me, he was like, you were doing witchcraft when you're doing that. Like, you are doing witchcraft when you're doing that. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah. Because he's like, here's this fake reality, this negative fantasy, not even a negative fantasy that I wanted to have, but it would just happen so much. Eventually you do start entertaining it, and like I said, interacting with it even. And like getting caught up in these like fantasies. And he's like, and then like I said, they end up happening. Like, first I would find myself getting lost in fantasy, and then I would have dreams about it, and then it would end up happening. And I think if it's at the point where you're dreaming about that thing, like if it's really not something you want to happen, you should really start rebuking that and praying against it and doing warfare against it. And I asked God too recently. I kept asking him, what is praying in the spirit? Because I don't understand that. And he was like, it's visualizing. Like, when it's being in the mental, it's getting out of the physical, you know? When you're in the spirit, your will and your heart and your emotions, that's what it is. And he's like, I need you to start visualizing positive. I need you to start visualizing what you need and what you're asking for and rehearsing it, you know? Because if I don't believe, like, I can pray and ask God for my music to succeed, you know, and all these different things. But how am I going to hold that? How am I going to really walk in that if I haven't mentally rehearsed, if I haven't prepared for how I'm going to feel in that moment? How am I ever going to, like, actually walk in it if I don't believe that it's really possible, you know? And this is what God is showing me. He's like, I need you to rehearse, like, at least, it doesn't even have to be like a focused, super specific thing, right? You want to walk in the joy of God, see yourself joyful. And like, let God take care of the other aspects, because he will. And, you know, I'm not even saying to pray for super specific things, but when we're praying and asking God, I think we should be declaring, first of all. Don't be out here begging God. God gave you a mouth. Open it and use it to speak blessings over your life. And then, yes, engage in visualization. And be like, I speak the promises of joy over my life in Jesus' mighty name. And I can see myself and my loved ones in joy, embracing in joy, laughing, enjoying meals together. Like, let yourself go there. Because the thing is, we let ourselves go to these negative places, and that's demonic. It is demonic. And God also, like, convicted me on this. He was like, think about the times when you would go into these negative places. A lot of times I was doing something where I was in a flow state. You know, I was in a flow state, and my mind is just wandering, and it's in these negative places. You know, the flow state is very spiritual, because you forget that you're there. You know, maybe sometimes I'd be singing or playing music, for example. These are powerful times because your mind is like more powerful, I think. Like, you're more in your mind, because especially me when I'm doing music, you know, I mean, I don't know, maybe you're doing the dishes, you're doing something repetitive or maybe relaxing, where you're able to just forget that you're you But pay attention to what your thoughts are in these moments. Are you visualizing negative things? Are you worrying? Are you holding and entertaining something that you really don't want? Because for me, like, I had been doing that a lot my whole life. Like, really entertaining worries and entertaining fears that I would have. And God showed me, he's like, that's a witchcraft prayer. Because when you're holding that in your mind and you're visualizing on it and you're entertaining it, you're doing witchcraft. Because he's like, and especially you're thinking thoughts about other people. There's other people involved. There's other people's purposes and destinies involved. Now you're speaking things and thinking things and energetically, like, coming into agreement with things that you don't want for that person, you don't want for yourself, you don't want in general. It's just like a worry. And it's like, if I don't want this in my life and in that other person's life, then I need to immediately shut that down and be like, that is based on fear. That is based on lies of the enemy, and I rebuke that in Jesus' mighty name. I'm a child of God, and I know that I'm protected and blessed, and I know that the plans that Jesus has for me are not of fear, but of love and of purpose, And I really like the prayer of Jabez. If you know about that one, I'll put it on the screen. But these have been massive, massive revelations for me that, when we're worrying, we are giving a prayer. And it may not be uttered, like we might not be saying anything, but mentally, like, we're putting our thought focus and our energetic juices into that. And it's very destructive. And like I said, man, I feel like chains have been falling away this week, literally. Like, chains have been broken. I was like, wow, okay, like, I've literally been, and it's made worse, I think, too, when at least if you understand, like, what you're doing, but I don't know. Don't give into negative thought stuff. And it's not to say to, like, live in la la land. We're gonna have problems, we're gonna have things that come up, but ultimately, if you desire to walk in God's promises, if you desire freedom from the chains that have been in your ancestry and the bloodline curses, you have to be able to walk in faith, like, fully. And that's one thing, like, I've been praying and asking God for more faith and more belief, and then I started having these revelations because I was asking him, like, so many questions. But anyways, I'm going to leave it there. I hope that something that I said made sense and resonated with you. I love you guys so much, and I hope you have an awesome day, and I hope that you can walk in freedom and that you can release your fear and just trust God in everything, because he's so good. He's got us. He's holding you in his hands. He's holding all of the promises that he's made for you in his hands, and he wants to give you love. He wants to show you love. He wants a love-filled life for you. A love-filled life for you. And I pray that you'll be able to start thinking of your life in and through a lens of love, through a lens of Christ's love for other people in your life, for yourself, for your dreams, for your finances, for anything that you're going through, because he's going to deliver. He's going to deliver in a big way, and it doesn't matter what you see in the natural, because the natural is just like a delayed response to what's going on in here. I really think that. I really do. And there's a reason why belief and faith is so important. I mean, read the Bible. It's hinged. Like, everything is hinged on our beliefs. So, of course, if we put our beliefs in ourselves or money or people, we're going to be disappointed every single time. Those beliefs have to be hung on God and His Word, ultimately. And after that, everything else is going to fall into place. So I love you guys. Thank you so much for listening and watching. And I hope you have an awesome day. We'll see you next time.